Can you
Hopefully,
hear my dog whining or no?
no, it should be
Good.
fine. Zoom is very good at filtering out all forms of background noise. But anyway, we should be up and running now. We should be live. So for anyone that's just filtering in, or if you're watching this on the recording, I'm here with the wonderful Victoria Ziola. Ziola, right?
You got it.
Hey, yes. See, I'm improving. I'm learning since last time.
There you
And
go.
this is a stream that, I mean, I've actually wanted to do this interview with you since last year.
Oh
Because
yeah.
when the book was actually finished and you started working with Michelle, with the agent, I thought, okay, perfect interview material. Let's get her on straight away. And then for some reason, it took me until May 2024 to actually set this up with you.
That's all right.
I think because we were so busy with bringing you into the team and stuff like that as well. But anyway, guys, welcome. If you're just filtering in, we got lots of folks already saying hi. So Misty's here, which is great. Good to see you, Misty. Pam is here. Susan, your client Susan is here as well.
Susan.
Hi, Susan. Um, and guys, do leave me a comment if this is your first time coming along to one of these as well. I'd love to know if anyone is new to the group. If it is your first time, then we're going to be talking to Victoria today. Some of you guys may know me already, so if you're brand new, literally brand new, I'm the guy whose face you can see at the top of the group, Max, right? And I'm running this group. This is not what I do full time, but the actual private work we do is as a writing coach and editor. And I've been doing that full time since about 2018, 2019. So for about 4 or 5 years now. And Victoria here, which we're going to get into in a second, is one of the other smiley faces that you can see in the banner at the top of the group. And she is also now a writing coach and an editor on our team. But it was quite a journey to get there. So today, I'm not interviewing her as a team member, but I'm actually interviewing her as a writer because, and you guys are going to hear the story in a second, before she was working as part of our team, she was actually a client, just like a lot of other people that are watching this, right? And so, what I'm going to do with Victoria is she's going to tell us a little bit of her story, where, like, how she was originally in a very similar position to a lot of you guys, how she actually finished her book, and then also how she went on to get an agent for that book as well. Before we get into that, um, I'd love to know if some people here have a similar goal to what Victoria has done. Because I know some people are more interested in self-publishing and other people are more interested in going the traditional route. So can I see a quick hands up or a quick comment in the chat for anyone that's aiming to follow in Victoria's footsteps? Who here is aiming to get an agent or to publish traditionally? Yeah. Okay, so Draven, I hope I said your name the right way. You've got a similar goal. Owen as well, Nikki as well, and also for Jay and also for Misty. Okay, lots and lots of folks are interested in doing the same thing. What I'll do is, me and Victoria will talk a bit about her story so that you guys have the background, because I think you're going to find it inspiring. And then a bit later, if you want to shoot some questions at Victoria as well, we can also do that and we'll do a bit of a Q&A type thing. So everyone ready to dive into that? Does all of that sound good? Does it sound exciting? Cool, cool, cool. Victoria, you have done one of these streams with me before, so I think some people know kind of like the basics about you, but do you want to take 10 seconds again and just like sort of who are you when you're not writing? Where are you from and where are you based? And
Yeah, so I'm in Pittsburgh,
yeah,
Pennsylvania, over here
yeah.
in the States. I'm married and I have two kids. They are 9 and 6. And I'm pretty much writing or reading or doing the mom life. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
about it in a nutshell.
good combination. And so I suppose if you want to take us back to the beginning of the story, at some point you were in the same boat as everyone else in this group, which was I've never written a book before, but I think I'm going to write a book. So where did that all start? What made you want to write?
What made me want to write? Okay,
Yeah,
so so I did not really get into writing until I was 25.
right.
Um, as a kid, I grew up that I enjoyed reading. I wouldn't say I was like a huge bookworm or anything, but I did like to read. Um, funnily enough, I would say, although I wasn't writing down the stories, I definitely think that as a kid, I spent hours a day working up stories, and that's whenever I was
Okay.
playing with my Barbie dolls. So,
Okay.
so I think that was like the early days of the storytelling.
Right.
And it
Right.
wasn't until I was 25 and I was married and I had a 1-year-old. I just woke up like a lot of folks listening today. I woke up from a dream that
Wow.
I couldn't shake it. I couldn't get out of my head. I had to start writing it down, and then it just snowballed from there.
Okay.
Yeah, it totally set me off on the writing journey. The writing bug bit
Yeah.
me. I was like reading all the craft books, listening to the podcasts, and going to writing
Cool.
groups and everything.
Cool.
And eventually I came across you, and then we started working
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Okay. So at this stage in the story, you were probably at a very similar level to most of the people that are watching this. And then I actually can't remember exactly because this was all the way back in 2020 or something when we
Yes.
first started
Yeah.
working together. But what stage were you at when we met? And what kind of problems were you dealing with at that point?
Yeah. So it was my first book, and I did have a finished draft that I'd edited a couple of times.
Yeah.
Um, but and it's in the young adult genre, and I still do read a lot of the young adult genre, and I kind of knew, looking at my book and comparing it to those, I just knew that it was not quite there yet.
Right.
It was also too short, like word count wise. So I knew that I wanted some additional help to really get me there, because I had always had in my heart that I hoped to publish it some.
Yeah. So it was the book at that point was too short, and I also think you hadn't had that much feedback on it either at that point. Had you shown it to anyone?
Well, yeah, definitely not professionally. I
Yeah.
was for a period in a critique group, but then um I kind of like I dropped out of that group because I had another baby. So
Okay.
not in that group anymore. And I definitely was at a point where like I'd worked on the manuscript, but I didn't know what else to do with it.
Yeah.
I could tell that it just needed to be better essentially, but I
Yeah.
didn't know what to do with it. So I was looking for somebody to like, A, how do I make it longer? And just B, like, can we make it better?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
once we got into it, you helped me to realize like we do need to up the stakes. There needs to be a more focused goal, especially for my female main character, because I have, it's a dual point of view. So the
Yeah.
guy's character, the guy's story wasn't too bad, but then the girl, she needed to have a lot more added to her story.
Cool.
So we focused a lot on that.
Yeah, yeah. So we were kind of building out the characters. I remember also reading the draft for the first time and giving you feedback on everything and just figuring out where we could cut things or add things and so on.
Yep.
And we will get to the agent stuff in a second. What was like the most helpful part of working together for you when we were doing the stuff on the first draft?
Of us working together. Okay, so and also, I people watching this might not know. So I worked with Max on the first book, and then I came back again for the second book
Yeah.
because obviously the first time I like felt that it worked really well and it was beneficial. But anyways, with both books, I think a huge help for me was that I was able to have somebody that I could talk to consistently about my book, like a dedicated person that I could always ring up whenever I wanted to chat or brainstorm ideas for the book. Because like, and I can kind of compare it to different critique groups that I've been in, like writing partners. They can be a good thing, but the thing with those is usually your material is only getting workshopped either once a month, or like a group that I'm in now, it's only once every 2 months.
Yeah.
So like if I had to always wait 8 weeks to talk to somebody about like, hey, I have an idea for this scene. Do you think it'll work? Like it just wouldn't be enough for me. So anyways,
Yeah.
the fact that like I could always, at least Monday through Friday, you were available, that I could like message you or jump on a call and talk about the book was great. The second biggest thing for me. If anybody watching like knows me or has maybe seen one of the last interviews,
Yeah.
knows that I've had like a lot of trouble with the imposter syndrome and the self-doubts and everything. So
Yeah.
we're always really helpful with the mindset stuff, keeping me on course, just, helping me to not get overwhelmed, because there are
Yeah.
definitely times like if you're looking at a plot hole or some big edits you need to make, it can kind of spook
Be
a person a little
overwhelming.
bit. Yeah. So
Yeah.
just kind of like those reminders, I think you could probably stitch this on like a pillow or a mug. Do you know what it is?
Oh no, go ahead.
This is the Maxism. Nothing that can't be fixed.
Yeah.
Like you were always saying that one. So that's just those things to help me like, it's okay, we can fix it. This is manageable, feasible.
I really appreciate all of that. I also wanted to say that it was such an interesting experiment doing one book with you that was post first draft. So
Yeah.
the first draft was written with no help, but the
Hmm.
second book we did everything together from scratch.
Yeah.
And that was really interesting because we usually find that the second book we do with people is better than the first book we do with people a lot of the time. Now, I don't know that it's like, I would say with the second book, um, some of those basic story elements, things like making sure the characters have clear goals and the stakes are high and everything like that, I think that you did a better job with those from the beginning. Because once we'd done book one, you knew how to do all of it. And
Yeah.
also because we could help you get the skeleton in place from the start. I
Yeah.
think book two, and you can tell me if this is right, seems like it was a way smoother ride than
Oh,
book
totally.
one, where we were trying to go back to fix everything, which
Yeah.
was that was hard. I mean, you still succeeded, but it was harder doing it that way.
Totally.
Let's um let's get on to the next bit of the story because people are
Mhm.
obviously here to hear about the agent thing. So it goes without saying that we finished the book together, right? You also had test readers and stuff, but we reached the
Yeah.
point where we felt confident about querying it, right?
Mhm.
So what happened from there? Do you want to just tell us like the journey of going from book is finished to getting an agent? Like, I think people will be wondering, what does it really look like in reality? So
Sure, sure. Yeah. So, yes, we did. We finished. So this is the first book that we're talking about that we
yeah,
queried. So we finished that up. So exciting, right?
yeah,
Woo! I'm still celebrating, right? It's been a couple of
yeah.
years celebrating. Anyways, and then what I did right after that was I took a whole month that I set aside, I dedicated it to preparing to query. So I got the query package together, which is the query letter, the synopsis, the sample pages.
Yeah.
Um, and with that, it wasn't something that I sat down in a single evening and I just like banged it out and, here we go, it's ready to go. And no, like it's so critical that that query letter and those pages are like really, really sharp. So I took my time with that query package. I got feedback from a few different sources on it and I edited a few times. So
Yeah.
probably had like 5 different versions before we were super happy with it.
Right.
Also during that month, I did my research. So I looked into like, how does this process typically go? What are the expectations? And of course, I looked into agents too. So I put together a list of agents that I felt like might be a good fit for
Yeah.
the manuscript. And then once at the end of all that, I felt like, okay, I have a plan, I have a strategy, I have a sense of like kind of mindset, what this should look like, how long it should take, kind of
Uh,
thing. And then I embarked on the first submissions. And so the strategy that I mentioned, like one key strategy with querying agents is that it's a good idea to send out the submissions in batches
yeah.
rather than like a rapid fire and like let's just send out 50 submissions all at once, because the idea with that is if you just send out like 10 or 12 submissions to start with, hopefully if you get some feedback from the agents, because they don't always send feedback, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you get feedback from them, then you can tweak or make adjustments to the letter, the sample pages, or anything like that before you send it to the next group. Because you only have one shot per agent. So it's
Yes.
not like you can send it and they pass on it and then you can edit something and then send it again. Like it's like they say no and that's it for this project. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Interesting.
so
So that's where it started. And then do you want to give people a sense of what the response from the agents was like and sort of how many of those rounds you went through and how long it took?
yeah, so totally a mixed bag, which is very, very normal. Those first few rounds, there were some exciting moments because a couple of agents gave me what they call like personalized rejection, where
Yeah.
they still say no, but they're nice enough to take like a minute to tell you,
Yeah.
here's why I said no.
Yeah.
So it was really great because then I could like put some of that feedback into action. And then a couple months into it, I started having like little like bites from people where they were like requesting more pages or requesting to read the whole book. That was exciting and kept me going. But at the same time, of course, there's many, many rejections
Rejections.
because
And
the yeah,
I actually want to cut in for a second because the way that you get rejected, it actually tells you a lot, right?
mhm.
Um, a lot of people will be familiar with that game. I don't know if you guys used to play that game as kids, where one person would shut their eyes and you'd have like an object that they had to find, and then you'd be like, warmer, we're getting warmer,
Oh yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah.
getting colder.
Mhm.
There's a bit of a warmer, colder thing with the responses that you're getting from agents. You can tell if the rejection email is just a template
Right.
where they just automatically send it to everyone, or if it was personalized. In other
Mhm.
words, like Victoria said a second ago, they actually took the time to write you out why they rejected you, right?
Right.
It sounds weird, but if you're getting rejected in a personalized way, it's a very good sign. Whereas if you're only getting template rejections, you probably need to go back to the drawing board because the book's probably not ready yet, right? And the reason why is because if you're getting only templates, your book probably is not making it past the slush pile, which means if the agent is big enough to have an assistant, it's probably not even making it to the agent's desk because it's not strong enough, which means that you do need to go back and you need to do more work and you need to get more feedback. You need to improve the book itself. If you're starting to get agents saying, I really like this, but I couldn't say yes to it because this storyline didn't work for me, or the stakes were too low, or the goal wasn't clear enough, those kinds of things. Workshop it and then send it back to me, and I'll take a look again. Now we're
Yeah.
getting warmer. And if you, that's a very good sign that you're on the right track. The reason why I wanted to cut you off and add that is because I
Yeah.
talked to some people from this group that have tried querying before. Some people from this group have told me that they've sent out 100 queries and every single one has been a template rejection. And that
Mm.
tells me that you're not ready to query.
Yeah.
You probably have not had enough feedback on the book. And if I'm being really honest, you probably don't have the knowledge that you need to do a good job with the book yet. Because, I mean, Victoria, maybe you want to talk to this a bit as well, but one of the things that you really realize is that the stuff that we're teaching you guys in this group, like the plot advice, make sure your characters have clear goals and flaws, make sure the stakes are high, make sure there's urgency. This plot stuff that we're teaching you in the group, it's not just like random stuff that we're plucking out of nowhere. These are the
Yeah.
same things that agents and publishers are looking to see if you have in your book. And if you
Mhm.
don't have them, then you could be rejected because of that. I mean,
Right.
we actually had to go back and work on Sarah's storyline. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Right. No, so yeah, the things that you're talking about, like those concepts, like the stakes and the urgency and the goal and everything, like you're exactly right because the agents use that language when, if they send some sort of feedback, um, that's the kind of talk they have. Like, I liked it for XYZ reasons, but like, unfortunately, I just felt like the stakes weren't high enough or,
Yeah.
like the goal wasn't clear enough. Like that is exactly the stuff. Um, but then, yeah, you mentioned my female main character, Sarah, that we needed to do some more work for her. Yeah, her storyline really just didn't quite have like the oomph Yeah, it needed to have that like yeah, I guess you could call it like the stakes, sort of like the importance and everything with
Yeah.
her story. So we added in um like a time frame, like a time crunch that
More
she
time
had to
pressure.
kind of like, yeah, exactly, to like increase like that urgency of like she needs to achieve the goal in this book like right now, otherwise, it's
Yeah.
gonna escape her kind of thing. And
Yeah.
that helped.
I wanna add as well that if you're more of like a pantser or more of a discovery writer, where you're just improvising as you go, definitely stick around in this group, come along to more of the classes or watch the recordings and make sure that you're learning about the things that me and Victoria are talking about. Because I think some people have it in their heads that you can just skip learning about this stuff and it doesn't matter. And that if you're talented enough, you can just pants out anything that comes into your head and it's going to hit all the right notes. Very low chance.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't be a pantser. I'm fine with either way. But the pantsers that I see that succeed, people like Jennifer, for example, right, that I was talking to a couple weeks ago, they succeed because even though they're pantsing, they really, really understand this stuff very, very well, which
Hmm.
means that it's a little bit like a jazz musician who the musician might be improvising on, let's say, the saxophone, but he has the scales in his head. He's got the music education, and because of that, he can improvise and it works beautifully. Whereas if you're just tooting random noises and you don't even know what the jazz scale is, it's never going to be a good performance. Do you know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you're probably missing a lot of the knowledge that you need. Take the time to keep learning, keep yourself in a student mentality. But anyway, what happened next?
Anyways, yes, back to the ups and downs of
Yeah.
querying. So a couple months into the querying journey, I was getting a lot of those rejections, but then a lot of those like it's really close. And I had some like open requests out there. So agents who currently like had the manuscript and they were reading it. So one of those agents who like she liked the letter and then she wanted more pages and then she wanted the whole book. Um, she read the whole book and she liked it. I
Yeah.
was, this is very exciting. So she sent me an email, and the email was like, I really, really like this book because of these different reasons. However, I think that it still needs a little bit of work here, here, and here. And then so she gave me what's called a revise and resubmit,
Yeah.
where she asked that if I wanted to, that I could make those changes that she recommended, and then I could send it back to her and she'd have another look. So I took, well, I should say we took, because you helped me out with this. We took 4 months to edit the book again. And at that time, I paused sending out any new submissions because, if I'm editing the book, then I might as well
Yeah.
wait until I have it, in the best shape to send out any new ones. Anyway, so took those 4 months, did a big edit. I sent it back to her again, and I held my breath while she was reading it. I think, for the 2 or 3 weeks while she had it, I probably just like wasn't breathing. All, oh my
Oh,
gosh. So then she finally emailed me again. And I opened it up. I could see it was a pretty short email, which is usually not a great sign. But unfortunately, it still wasn't all the way there for her. And oh my gosh, I was so devastated. Like, and I tried to prep myself ahead of time to be like, if it's a no, that's fine. I'll just try somebody else. Still, I got that no, and it just took all of the wind out of my sails. It was bad. I remember I made a Facebook post on my Facebook, and I had like a plea to my friends and family that I was like, please stop asking me about my book because like it's
I
over.
remember.
I don't want to do this anymore. It was,
I
it
remember the
was
post. I
so, it
remember
was
the post.
so sad. It was so
Yeah.
sad. Anyway, so I took like a breather for like 2 weeks or something. And then I don't know, you and I got to talking again, and oh my gosh, I was still just in a mood about it. But you helped remind me of the commitment that I made to this project. And we kind of talked about like, did we feel like I did the book its due diligence? I think I had sent like 45 queries at that point.
Yeah.
And we kind of agreed on no, like that was not due diligence, and I didn't want to regret it down the
Yeah.
road. That I didn't like give it, like if I'm gonna try it, I might as well try it all the way.
Yeah.
So I kind of just had to like pick myself up by my bootstraps kind of thing and get back out there. A big thing that helped me was that you and I came up with a number, like a definitive number of here's how many queries I will commit to sending out. Once I hit that number, then at that point, if I decide I don't want to do this anymore, then I can stop.
Yeah.
That really helped me because that just gave me like a tangible thing that I was going to agree to. So we settled on 75 would be the number of queries. So I got out there, sent out those last 30, and I remember that an interesting thing happened during those last 30. I felt like this new fire, like this new energy came over me, like a determination. I don't know if I was just, I might have been a little mad. I might have been a little bitter or something, but I was just like, gosh darn it, all of these agents that are like so close. You
Yeah.
know, they're, oh, I really like it, but just it's just not quite that
Yeah.
little not quite was just it was driving me insane. So actually I hit the 75 and I didn't stop. I kept going and I was just like, I'm gonna find an agent if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah.
So make a long story short, in total, I sent out 108, but it was not number 108 that ended up being my agent. It was actually number 95. So I guess
Wow.
lucky number 95. Because you know, the ones the couple after that were like I hadn't heard from her yet, so I was still
Yeah.
sending out submissions. But in total, it took me 18 months
Yeah.
of that's if you like look into like average time it takes people to get an agent, we're talking like 6 to 12 months. So I do think that mine was on the longer end. That might have been because I was maybe erring on the side of caution a little bit with like the
Mhm.
batches. Like I was really like I really wanted to wait for
Yeah.
each batches to come back. Excuse me. And like I don't share those numbers to scare anybody. That's totally not, I don't want to do that whatsoever. I don't want to discourage anybody or make it sound like a scary thing.
But you
I
know,
say that I say that as I like I want to encourage people
yeah.
because it's this is totally normal. Like it's 100% normal to have to send out a lot of submissions. Rejection is the name of the game,
Yes.
honestly. You only need one yes out of all these no's, and sometimes it's just a case of that agent's not right for your book or they don't want it right now
Yes.
type of thing. So you honestly you've really got to stick with it,
There's
but it is possible.
there's so much helpful advice in there that I don't even know where to start. But I think if you guys are making notes on this, which you should be, one of the things that I just picked up from what you said is persistence is very important, and this is definitely a marathon. It's definitely not a sprint, right? And I think when people say, "Oh God, it's just never going to happen for me," and then they stop, I think the issue is that most people give up much too easily. But I also don't blame them because I think most people don't actually have that much encouragement. And this is sad in some ways, but a lot of people that I talk to, because I do talk to a lot of you guys on the phone, there is no voice saying to them, remember the commitment, do your due
Yeah.
diligence, let's see this through. And I think a lot of people would hit rejection number 45 and there would be no one to dust them off and put them back in the saddle. And they
Yeah.
just, that's it, that's game over, right? And so I think having accountability is a really important part of being able to stay persistent. So that's
Hmm.
one thing that I picked up from that. Um, Another thing that I picked up from that is that you were saying for you, rejection is the name of the game, and you faced a lot of hardship there. And I think a lot of people see stories like J.K. Rowling being rejected by every publisher in London, and then one finally said yes. And they think, okay, but she's J.K. Rowling, it's impossible for me. And I think what you've shown people is that you don't actually have to be J.K. Rowling. I think people have this impression that you have to be in like the top 1% of the greatest writers that ever lived. And I mean, you're a good writer, but you don't have to be Shakespeare. I guess that's what I'm trying to say, right?
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Like I I would say this about the queering journey. Of course it has its struggles, right? It takes a lot of like um long-term thinking and dedication and everything. Um, but I'll say at least for myself, I found it to definitely be worth it because um although the book does not yet have a publishing deal, we're working on that right now. It's just
Yeah.
the fact of like having an agent has been like a dream come true for me because honestly, guys, honestly, I can I can think back to 8 years ago when I started everything, all the writing stuff. Honestly, I remember when I was a mom and I had that 1-year-old baby and I was in a rocking chair with the baby and I had my phone in this hand. I'm typing the story with my thumb. Okay,
Oh my
like
God.
that's where it started. I did not know anything about point of view or character arcs. You could say what's a character arc? I would be like, I have no idea. Like, so
Yeah.
I completely started at zero and just stuck with it all
Yeah.
this time. Um, so yeah, like you're saying, you don't have to be J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
That's totally true. Just like some dedication and you can really go far.
Exactly. I 100% agree. I think the persistence, the fact that you stuck with it and didn't stop is one of the biggest variables for why this worked out for you. Guys, I will extend this by a further 10 minutes, to give you guys a chance to ask some questions. Does anyone want to ask Victoria anything about her journey, about querying, or about the writing process? You can go ahead and you can drop any questions that you have in the comments, and Victoria and I will take a an extra 10 minutes and go through some of those things. Jay said learning the writing craft helps to get there. Yes, 100%. Sam, how many copies have you sold so far? I think you may have misunderstood, Sam. Uh, the agent is just the first step, right? So that's really the biggest hurdle. But once the book is out, then we'll see how many copies we sell. Um, Jean said, "What kept you motivated?"
The commitment was a huge part for me. I took that really seriously. I wanted to also prove it to myself. And I don't mean I wanted to prove that I was capable of getting an agent. I wanted to prove to myself that I could go the distance of sticking to that commitment and that even though I tried and I wanted to quit, that like I could like rest my head on the pillow at night, satisfied of like I went out there and tried.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that helped keep me going. Yeah.
perfect. All right, great answer. Owen said, "How did you figure out which agents you should submit to?"
Oh yeah. So all of them have websites, whether it's their own website or it's their literary agency's website, or they might be on what's called manuscript wish list. Some of them use that site. And they could also so I guess there's a number of places. It could also be on Query Tracker, which is a website that you can use as a writer to organize your submissions, and agents can also be on there and they will post what they are looking for. So what genres, it might be a specific little niche or even tropes that they're looking for, and that can change over time. Like at the moment, they could say like, right now I want something vampire. And then
Hmm.
like next month, they're like, I'm looking for a Western. Um, so you can check on those websites. You can even follow them on Twitter, which actually is where I found out about my agent. So
Good tip.
sometimes they'll drop little tweets about I'm really in the mood for like a sapphic young adult novel at a beach. And you could be like, perfect, that's exactly my story. Let me send it.
Awesome. All right, that's a good answer. Stephen, you asked about the specifics of approaching agents. That question is going to eat up the whole 10 minutes, Stephen, so I'm going to skip over that one. But you are already working with us privately, Stephen, so we actually have a whole video course on how to do it. So we'll send that to you. If you just send me a message on WhatsApp and remind me about that, and then I'll send the tutorial. Um, Lucy asked, how did you shortlist your agents? Did we kind of cover that in Owen's question? Or do you want to speak to that?
Oh, I can kind of say, I don't know if this is answering it correctly, if I'm understanding it right, but I will say, in terms of strategy,
Yep.
querying strategy with sending out those batches, you you can kind of organize your agents by like, here's my A list, here's my B list. The A list might be like, oh, this is like J.K. Rowling's agent, or like somebody that you think's really cool and be great to work with. And then the B list might be like the newer agents, or
Yeah,
they'd be fine. Don't start with your A list, right? Because you're just testing out the waters at first. So start with the B list and test things out on them. So that way, if they pass, that's okay. And then we can
great.
still have your save those chances with those like really exciting A-list people.
That's perfect. All right. June, your question, I think Victoria kind of just answered it, so I'm going to move over that one as well. Lauren, you said you can't imagine ever being able or ever being ready to publish. Lauren, you'll get there. If you don't quit, you'll get there at some point.
Mhm.
Cece said you're so wonderful. Love heart.
Cece.
I'm assuming you're talking about me, Cece. No, I'm kidding. Addison, would you be willing to share some of the agent's general critique and how you addressed it? We kind of covered that a little bit earlier, but do you want to speak to it briefly?
Yeah, you mean some of the feedback that we got
Yeah,
from
like
agents?
what was some of the feedback that they gave you and how did you make use of it?
Okay, let me think back. I mean, a few people had noted that some of the themes were a little bit darker or heavier than what they were looking for at the moment, which is understandable because it is young adult and that can get heavy, but at the moment they're kind of looking for a little bit lighter stuff. So I believe in that case, what we did was we sort of reorganized the first few chapters to cut out not cut it out, but we sort of just changed the way it was presented in the early chapters. Similarly, some people I think had noted that this is a really minute thing, that like the cigarettes might have been an issue because it's the teenager smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
So we just like tweaked that so that he wasn't smoking anymore. Um, what else did we change? At one point, I know that we adjusted the comps that are in the queer letter, and the comps are in your letter, you want to list comparable titles to your book. I don't think that was feedback from an agent. I think that just came from us. Um, so yeah, the feedback can be pretty specific, like to your
Yep.
exact book sometimes.
All right. Perfect. Guys, I have to wrap it up there because I'm completely out of time and I do have some other calls that I have to move on to now. What I'll do, um, first of all, Victoria, thank you because that was like one of the best interviews we've ever done with a really high attendance. And I think a lot of people will get a lot out of that. So let's give Victoria thanks in the comments if anyone else here found that helpful. Let me seize this opportunity before I wrap things up to promote both of us, right? And a bit of shameless self-promotion here. I will drop a link in the chat, guys. And if anyone here is interested in working with me or actually working with Victoria, Victoria, I don't think you have that much space right now, actually. You're pretty much full in terms of clients, but if anyone would just like to inquire, if you think you'd be interested in working with both me or Victoria or anyone else on our team in the future, go ahead, click the link that I just put in the comments, And please do choose a time to have a short call with me. I'll just give you a call for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. It's not going to cost you anything. It'll be a free call. And you can tell me a bit about what you're writing. I'm going to listen. I'm going to identify what the problems are. And then I'm going to give you some pointers and I'm going to give you a game plan for what I think you should do to also get your book finished so that we can get it to the point where you might also be ready to query or to publish. So if anyone's interested in doing that, go ahead, click the link. I can't wait to talk to you. If you're nervous about talking to me, don't be. I'm so easy to talk to. I don't bite, I promise you. And I can't wait to get to know some of you and get to know some of your projects as well. So Victoria, thanks so much once again. We'll see you guys next week for more exciting stuff. Loads of stuff in there.
Thank
Loads of stuff
you.
out
Thanks,
there.
guys.
Thanks. Bye for now, guys.
Bye-bye.